What we know on Iran's access to the $6 billion from a U.S. prisoner swap. Washington. President Joe Biden's administration is reserving the option to halt Iran's access to $6 billion it is set to receive as part of a prisoner exchange deal reached last month between the White House and Tehran, but so far, it sees no need to do so, according to three sources familiar with the discussions. The White House has faced bipartisan pressure in the days since Hamas attacked Israel to block Iran from accessing any of the $6 billion, particularly as the U.S. tries to assess whether Iran had any direct involvement in the attack. Time equals 400 ms. Greater than follow along with lives updates on the Israel-Hamas war here. These funds should remain frozen until we can determine whether Iran played a role in the attack and what the appropriate U.S. response should be, Senator Bob Casey, DPA, said in a statement on Wednesday. Time equals 400 ms. Greater than. Critics of the White House's decision to give Iran access to the $6 billion argue that money is fungible and any funds Iran receives for humanitarian assistance frees up more money for Tehran to spend on nefarious activities in the Middle East. Administration officials, while suggesting that freezing the $6 billion is on the table, have not said what the trigger for doing so would be or how that process would work. Refreezing the Iranian funds also could have an effect on the administration's efforts to negotiate future deals for other wrongfully detained Americans abroad. Biden's national security advisor Jake Sullivan on Tuesday said that none of the $6 billion in unfrozen Iranian oil revenue has been spent, while declining to say if the administration would seek to refreeze it. John Feiner, the deputy national security advisor, told Jewish leaders in a call Tuesday that, if necessary, we have options available to us if it is not spent for the purpose to which it is restricted. Time equals 400 ms. Greater than. Iran cannot directly access the funds on its own, according to U.S. officials, who stress that the money is sitting in a Qatari bank and intended only for humanitarian use. The officials insist there are already several safeguards in place to ensure the money is not misused, including monitoring by the U.S. Treasury Department and by the Qataris as well. Any approved withdrawal for items such as food, medicine and agricultural equipment would be monitored by both entities, officials said. The funds had been held in a South Korean bank previously under a mechanism that allowed Iran to keep selling oil to South Korea and several other countries. U.S. sanctions had prohibited Iran from accessing the money. The funds in Qatar are subject to identical restrictions as the funds in South Korea and may only be used for the same types of humanitarian trade. Such transfers are consistent with our Iran sanctions, which include long-standing authorizations and exceptions for the provision of humanitarian goods and assistance to Iran, one of the administration officials said. Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi told NBC News' Lester Holt in an interview last month that his government would spend the money wherever we need it. The U.S. has pledged to take action immediately if it notices Iran using the money for anything other than the stated humanitarian purposes, the official added. That money can be frozen at any time. We can stop any transaction. National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications Admiral John Kirby said on MSNBC on Tuesday. Time equals 400 ms. Greater than. The U.S. government has accused Iran of funding and arming Hamas since the 1990s. So far, administration officials have said they have not found a smoking gun that directly links Iran to Saturday's attack in Israel. Over the weekend, Biden administration officials pushed back on accusations from Republicans that the $6 billion had been used to fuel the attack by Hamas in Israel, saying Iran had not yet accessed any of the money. It's very unfortunate that some are playing political at a time when so many lives have been lost, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Sunday. These were not U.S. taxpayer dollars. These were Iranian resources that it had accumulated from the sale of its oil that were stuck in a bank in South Korea.